Thanks, everybody.
Hello there.
Wow, look at this.
Hi.
Wow.
Guys, the cast of Outlander, one more time. Thanks so much for being here, you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having
This
us.
is incredible. I know the books were popular, but when you guys signed on for season 1 of this show on Starz, did you expect anything like this, a phenomenon quite like this?
No, God. I mean, I had not even been on a TV show before, so I had no expectations. But I had a week between the time I tested with Sam and I was in Scotland. So
In Scotland shooting it.
yeah, well, they were going to shoot in like 2 weeks' time, so they got me there to start building clothes for me.
Now, I think everybody here is really excited for season 2 and for details without spoilers, obviously. But I'm kind of curious. I want to go back to the beginning for you guys because each of you embody your characters so well, and it's one of those shows where it is not necessarily a love triangle, but it's 3 people, 3 major roles, and each of you, it doesn't feel like anybody else could play these roles at this point. Perfectly cast. So how did you get cast in this show? What was the process like for you?
Yes, going back almost 3 years now, and I was asked to audition and was sent about 15 pages from, actually taken from the book. They were just dialogue that Diana had written, and very quickly went through a sort of rounds of auditions. I had a Skype interview with the producers, and then was asked to test, which was kind of nerve-wracking, but I didn't really honestly know what kind of show I was getting involved in. If I'd known, I might have maybe been a bit more nervous, but...
You were just like doing interviews and auditions for like half of something like you didn't know.
No, but I very quickly realized, what a vast world that Diana has written, and I was really excited about it. I sort of read bits of the book to work out, who this character was, and it certainly, it really intrigued me.
And you guys?
I cast out of London. It happened relatively quickly. I mean, I wasn't aware of the books beforehand, and it's been, a big part of the journey, sort of, getting to know the books and getting to know, the fans who are such sort of admirers of, and these books are so cherished by.
I think admirers is putting it lightly.
You're right.
Die Hard, maybe? A little more.
Die Hard, would that be fair? Yeah. And obviously it was a very intriguing proposal because they were looking for one actor to play 2 people, which is sort of very unusual for a screen project.
Did you read for both, or did you read for one mainly?
No, had to tape a scene for both characters. So that was already pretty interesting. And then meeting Ron, who I've been a big admirer of Battlestar, so I was very intrigued to meet him. And it was from the beginning, it felt like it was going to be a pretty interesting ride, and it's proved.
I'm kind of curious, from the beginning with the 2 characters that you're playing, did you try to draw any kind of emotional line between the 2 of them in terms of your performance, or did you kind of just be like, well, they look like the same guy, I don't need to really draw that emotional line, they can be completely different in terms of how I perform them?
I think Ron and I both had an instinct from the beginning to, in a way, be quite bold and not try and do anything physically to delineate, so that we weren't going to have, one having a beard and one having a glass eye or anything like that. We wanted to try, if possible, to make it something in the eyes. That's obviously you can fail with that, but I was really encouraged that Ron felt that it felt that way as well, and it's been a really rich journey, bringing these 2 people to the screen.
And Caitriona, what about you and getting cast for this show? Because your part is so pivotal. I think it's a woman that we've never seen on screen before in terms of how strong she is and how much she really commands these relationships.
Yeah, well, I mean, these guys were cast about 3 months before I even heard about the project, and I just got sent through my manager 2 scenes with barely any breakdown of the character. It was just like 2 lines, I think. And I put myself on tape, and I didn't hear anything for a week or 2. And then they just phoned back and they were like, actually, they want to see more. They want to see, so I taped 2 more scenes for them. And then they wanted me to test with Sam. And then it just happened so quickly. I mean, this was late August, and I was in, I think when I was taping was late August, and then we tested early September, and I was in Glasgow, I think, on the 12th of September or something
We're all
like
joking about how we think that it was almost on purpose that the producers did this to replicate, Claire's journey as well. She's just dropped into
threw
this
me
world
in.
and just has to deal with it, and it sort of feels like the same sort of situation.
Yeah, I mean, it was, she is such an amazing character, and, for me it was a completely new undertaking. As I said, I had a very short credit list before this, and but I think that sort of lack of knowledge, that naivete kind of helped.
Do you feel like your life has changed after this show? You said a short credit list. You kind of jumped right into it, and now the show we've got a lot of diehard fans here. You got a lot of fans.
I mean, yeah, it's completely changed. I have a fantastic job that I love. I now live in a different country. No, everything's changed. The show's kind of become our lives. We shoot for so long, and then we're promoting it, and all of the fantastic things that come along with that. I mean, the amazing fan base, and the family that we've created on set. It's just all been amazing.
Now, I ask this question of actors a fair amount, especially from television shows who go through a number of seasons doing the same character. You're on season 2, but I feel like, Caitriona, with your character, she's such a strong, specific kind of woman that I'm wondering if you feel protective over the way that they write her sometimes. If after one season, you'll get a scene and you'll be like, I really don't think she would do that. Like, that's really not what my character would do.
Oh yeah, no, I've gone to bat for Claire a few times. It was amazing in the beginning. Tobias, I think, was the first person he would get a script and we would talk with the writers and he would be like, but what about this? And I was like, oh, we can do that? And it was a real awakening. And, it takes a while to gain your confidence to...
And the writers saw it in your eyes and
they were like,
Tobias, stop
shut up, Tobias. But as the season, as season 1 went along, our confidence grew, I think, with all of us in our knowledge of our character and how protective we felt. And there's definitely been a few times that I've felt very strongly about things. And, you go to the writers and sometimes you win those battles, sometimes you don't. And you have to trust them at the end of the day. But I also think it's important that when you feel strongly about something that you really do fight for it.
And we do with the relationship as well. We're constantly, I guess season 1 also gave us the confidence and the ability to sort of understand our characters more. And in season 2, definitely, it's been very much about sort of taking all that information we learned in season 1 and continuing it into season 2.
Absolutely. So much of season 2, without giving away any spoilers, seems to be about the nuance of your relationship, at least in the early episodes. And that nuance, to me, seems like it would be... It's one thing to write it on the page, it's another thing as an actor to find in the scene, and that's where those conversations with the writers or the directors seem like it would really start to happen, because you really have to figure out how your character would just sort of visually react to something that is happening. There are a lot of wordless scenes between the two of you. How have you sort of found working together and finding those scenes with each other?
We have a great working relationship. I mean, you don't work this closely for this long without having a very deep understanding of each other's process. And, now there's an intimacy, I think, when we all work together that I'll see what pushes Sam's buttons, and I think he can tell with me as well. And, it's that great... What are you looking at me that way?
Saying nothing at all.
So much because of I think because of the sexuality of the show, there's so much unintended innuendo.
I know, it's like I can't say anything anymore.
Yeah.
Pushing the buttons.
Buttons.
Oh, you dirty girl.
But
do doing scenes like that also help the sort of intimacy of scenes that don't feature any kind of sexual situation? When you are forced to sort of be that physical with someone in front of the camera, I would imagine that it also loosens you up or opens you up to be more open just doing emotional.
I think doing
any... the word!
I think doing any kind of scene, and you've got to look someone in the eye for a long time, and I think you just get to see a part of them that we're, as sort of human beings, very guarded most of the time, and this is a very revealing profession, I think, in a lot of the scenes that we do, and I think it does build a bond. It's like that sort of, you go through a traumatic experience together, it kind of bonds you closer.
It's one of the real benefits of doing multiple seasons of long-form TV is that as a group of actors and as a group of writers and producers, we grow together, and that sort of, but those relationships deepen it, and I think that does have payoff in the material. So, I mean, the stuff that Caitriona and I were doing at the beginning of season 2, I don't know whether we would have been able to shoot that at the beginning of season 1. I think definitely that sort of marinated in, all that's happened in the last 3 years and working together.
I love those scenes between the two of you at the beginning of season 2. It's a completely different side of your character, and there's a lot of setup for what may or may not happen with him in terms of who he could become or how he might change because of this relationship. I'm kind of curious, you have 2 roles to play, and one of them is the good guy, and one of them is the real juicy villain. Do you have a preference? Do you have more fun playing one over the other?
I think on the surface of it, of course, Jack is one of the great villains. I think Diana's written a fantastic character, and so. But increasingly, I'm finding Frank has a real payoff. You mentioned the stuff at the beginning of season 2. I think Ron and the writers have done a really good job, and they've drawn Frank out slightly more in the TV show than perhaps he is in the books. And so I mean, the honest answer is the variety between these 2 characters is such an unusual proposition, and it's been really fruitful to explore both.